Hello, welcome to my history lesson for you. Today we'll be talking about Iran in the 1980s and discussing the socio-political background of all of it. Before we get into the actual 1980s, I'm going to give you some context. So, what kind of government or rule was Iran under? From 1953 to 1979, the political system in Iran was shaped by the autocratic monarchy of Mohammad Reza Shah. The monarchy started to fall in 1979. Everything went downhill concerning their economy, and so this led to discontent within the people of Iran. The government placed blame on the shoulders of the traditional business community, also known as bazaris. They did this by starting an anti-profiteering campaign. This meant that the government imposed price control and sent teams to inspect the bazaars. This caused public discontent around political repression and social inequality, which helped to fuel the revolution. All of this led to an economic recession. The government cut back on investments, stopped wage increases, and canceled any bonuses to state employees. The Shah is quoted saying, "Those who do not work, we shall take them by the tail and throw them out like mice. He who does not do his job properly is betraying not only his own conscience, but also his patriotic duty." He would have had many interviews, and in all of them, the general message to his people would be that they're simply lazy and need to improve and work harder, even though they weren't even being paid more. This led to industrial strikes as the revolution gained more and more momentum. With the general discontent of his people, the Shah regime fled on the 16th of January 1979, and in came Ayatollah Khomeini, who returned from exile in France and established the Islamic Republic of Iran. Since the Shah had left Iran in such a great economic situation, their economy entered a period of rapid decline. There was political instability and economic mismanagement. And what's next? A war was coming. People were segregated. Some of them wanted a laissez-faire market economy. These were the more upper-class members of society. They were also considered to be the conservatives or the right. Some of them wanted a strong state that could intervene in the economy to promote industrialization and help poor people. These people mainly belonged to the middle class and were known as the radicals, or the left. Due to the separation and the instability, people started to leave. In 1980, there were 16,222 higher education professors. In 1982, only 2 years later, there were only 9,042 left. 1 out of 3 physicians and dentists left the country. Other professionals like journalists, lawyers, engineers, and managers left too. We can see this in the graphic novel Persepolis, as Marjane's friend and part of her family flees. In the end, everything leaned more to the left. They needed organization to survive the war, and the structure of that kind of government would potentially help to sustain them. They just wanted comity, which means self-sufficiency. As we can see in Persepolis, wearing the veil was obligatory by 1980. Ayatollah rolled back almost all freedom and rights that women had won during the previous revolutions. When he did this, women participated in thousands by demonstrations, strikes, and political debates, just like Marjane's mom. Eventually, schools, universities, and public transportation were all segregated by gender. Women were encouraged to stay home and devote themselves to motherhood. This was the situation in Iran when Iraq invaded on the 22nd of September, 1980. They held airstrikes against the Iranian Air Force. Iran launched a counteroffensive, which consisted of using a human wave. Iraq withdrew their forces from Iranian territory in 1982. Then, on June 20th, Saddam Hussein called for a ceasefire, but Ayatollah rejected this. He wanted Saddam out of power before he accepted. This never happened. On July 13th, 1983, Iran invades Iraq. Iraq was prepared, seeing as they were still in a war with Iran. They had guns and chemical weapons, and Iran was quickly reduced to suicide attacks. Ronald Reagan announced that the U.S. would help Iraq. He said that Iraq could not lose against Iran. The USSR and France also allied with Iraq, while China, North Korea, and Libya allied with Iran. In 1984, Iraq attacked an Iranian oil tanker in the Gulf, which then led to Iran attacking Iraqi and Arab oil tankers. From 1985 to 1987, Iran and Iraq fought without any movement in their position of war. People just continued to die. Tens of thousands of people were dying in days. In February 1988, Saddam unleashed the fifth and deadliest missile strike on Iran. They used gas to stop Iranians and killed around 2,000 people. Iran started to think about taking a peace deal, and then an American Navy ship shot down an Iranian civil plane. It killed 29 civilians. The Americans apologized as they thought it was an Iranian attack plane. Then, on the 20th of July 1988, Iran announced an acceptance of a UN-brokered ceasefire. Iraq refused to accept until Ayatollah would leave power. But in the end, they did accept it, and Ayatollah did not leave power due to the ceasefire. Around 500,000 to 1 million Iranians were dead at the end of the war, and around 300,000 Iraqis. As if the death toll wasn't high enough, after the ceasefire, the Iranian government started the Operation Eternal Light and started executing political prisoners. I know this is a lot to take in, but thank you for watching.